The silence of deep space broke when the signal arrived. Captain Minho Kim stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, watching the translation software work through the alien message. His heart pounded in his chest. This was it. First contact with alien life, the dream humanity had chased for centuries. "Captain, the message is clear," said Dr. Ji-Won Park, her eyes fixed on the screen. "They're welcoming us. They call themselves the Galactic Council." Minho looked at the coordinates included in the transmission. A space station, massive beyond anything humans had ever built, waited 3 light-years away. The message promised peace, knowledge, and friendship. It promised everything humanity had hoped to find among the stars. "Set a course," Minho said. "Let's go meet our neighbors." The journey took 2 weeks. When the Perseverance dropped out of faster-than-light travel, the crew gasped. Harmony Nexus stretched across space like a silver flower. Ships of countless designs docked at its petals. Light sparkled across its surface like stars brought down from the heavens. Lieutenant Dae-hyun Choi checked his security scanners. "I count over 500 different ship types. This place is incredible." Ambassador Hyeri Lee smoothed her formal jacket. She had trained her whole life for diplomatic work, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Remember, everyone, we represent all of Earth today. Let's make humanity proud." The docking procedure was surprisingly smooth. A small delegation of aliens waited at the airlock. Minho took a deep breath and stepped through first. The artificial gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth standard. The air smelled faintly of something like cinnamon. 3 aliens stood before them. They were tall, thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their eyes were large and set wide apart. They moved with careful, deliberate grace. "Welcome, humans," the center alien said. Its voice came from a translator device that hung around its neck. "I am Counselor Velnus of the Tetherian people. We are honored to greet the newest species to reach the stars." Yeri stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We are honored to be here. Thank you for your welcome." Velnus gestured for them to follow. As they walked through the station's corridors, Minho noticed something odd. Everything seemed delicate. The walls were thin. The doors looked like they would break under a strong push. Other aliens they passed in the halls moved slowly, carefully, as if afraid of hurting themselves. They entered a large chamber filled with hundreds of aliens, representing dozens of species. All of them turned to stare at the humans. Minho felt their eyes like physical weight. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke. "We have reviewed your planet's data. Your world is concerning." "Concerning?" Ji-Won asked. "In what way?" Another alien, this one covered in soft fur, pulled up a holographic display. "Your planet's gravity is 2.3 times higher than the galactic standard. Your atmosphere contains free oxygen at dangerous levels. Your oceans are corrosive salt water. Your land masses experience regular seismic activity. Your weather includes violent storms capable of destroying structures. Your ecosystem contains millions of species of aggressive microorganisms and thousands of apex predators." The jellyfish creature floated closer. "Worst of all, your species evolved as persistence predators. You hunted by chasing prey until it died from exhaustion. You come from a world we classify as a Class 12 death world. No other intelligent species has ever evolved on a world rated above Class 5. Minho looked at his crew. They all seemed as confused as he felt. "I don't understand. Are you saying Earth is dangerous?" "Dangerous?" Velnus's skin color shifted to something darker. "Captain Kim, your world would kill most species in the Council within hours. Some would die within minutes. The gravity alone would crush our bones. Your microorganisms would devour our flesh. Your weather would freeze or boil us. Even your plants are toxic to most known biology." Daehyun crossed his arms. "We get along fine." "Exactly," the furry alien said, its voice trembling. "You survive in conditions that would destroy any other known intelligent life. That makes you extraordinarily dangerous." Yeri's diplomatic training kicked in. "I understand your concern, but humanity comes in peace. We've spent the last century eliminating war from our own world. We want only friendship and knowledge." The jellyfish pulled up new images. Security footage from the docking bay. It showed Daehyun carrying a supply crate that the manifest listed as weighing 200 kilograms. He carried it with one hand like it weighed nothing. "Your casual strength exceeds our most powerful industrial equipment," the jellyfish said. "We have been monitoring your biology since you arrived. Your bone density is 3 times what physics should allow. Your muscle tissue is wound so tightly it should tear itself apart. Your heart pumps corrosive oxygen through your body at pressures that would rupture our blood vessels. You heal from wounds that would be fatal to us. You are, by every scientific measure, biological weapons shaped like people. G1 stepped forward. We're not weapons. We're explorers, scientists. We came here to learn. But you could be weapons, another alien said. Your history shows wars spanning your entire planet. Conflicts that killed millions. You built weapons capable of destroying your own world, and you aim those predator eyes at us now. Minho realized what they meant. Human eyes faced forward like a hunter's. Most of the aliens in the room had eyes on the sides of their heads like prey animals back on Earth. We left that violence behind, Minho said firmly. Humanity has changed, have you? The jellyfish displayed more images. Humans engaging in extreme sports. Climbing mountains. Diving into oceans. Jumping from aircraft. You seek danger for entertainment. You voluntarily expose yourselves to conditions that would kill us, and you call it fun. What kind of species does that? The room fell silent. Minho felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced it down. Getting angry would only prove their point. Velnus spoke softly. The council must debate this. We have never encountered anything like humanity before. You terrify us, Captain Kim. You terrify us deeply. What happens now? Hayeri asked. Now you wait, the jellyfish said. You will remain on your ship while we decide if humanity should be allowed into galactic civilization, or if your species should be quarantined to your own star system. Forever. The humans were escorted back to their ship. As the airlock sealed behind them, Minho looked at his crew. They had traveled 3 light years to make friends and found only fear instead. They're afraid of us, G1 said quietly. They think we're monsters. Daehyun laughed bitterly. We're not monsters. We're just people who had to survive a tough world. Maybe that's what monsters are, Hayeri said. Survivors from a world so harsh that gentle people can't imagine it. Minho stared out at the beautiful space station, wondering if humanity's dream of joining the galactic community was already over, before it had truly begun. 3 days passed in tense silence. The crew of the Perseverance waited aboard their ship while the Galactic Council debated humanity's fate. Minho spent hours staring at the station through the viewport, watching alien ships come and go. None approached the human vessel. They kept their distance as if the Perseverance carried a deadly plague. On the 4th day, Counselor Velnus requested a private meeting. She came alone to the human ship, which surprised everyone. When she stepped through the airlock, she moved carefully like someone walking on ice. Thank you for seeing me, Velnus said. Her skin shifted through colors rapidly. G1 had learned this meant nervousness. I wanted to speak with you away from the others. What's happening in the council? Minho asked. Velnus settled into a chair that had been specially made softer for her lighter body weight. There is great fear.
Many want to forbid humanity from leaving your solar system.
They propose placing monitoring satellites around Earth to ensure you never develop better faster than light technology. Some even suggest more severe actions. Severe how? Daehyun's hand moved unconsciously toward where he would normally carry a weapon. He wore no weapons now, but the gesture made Velnus flinch. Please understand, Velnus said quickly. Most council species have never known violence. We evolved on worlds where cooperation was easy, because survival was easy. We've had peace for 3,000 years. The concept of war exists only in our ancient history. To us, violence is a theoretical concept. But you humans, you've lived it, recently. Hayeri sat down across from Velnus. What do you want from us? Help me understand, Velnus said. Help me explain you to the others. Because right now, all they see is danger. G1 pulled up a holographic display of Earth. The blue and green planet rotated slowly in the air between them. This is our home. Let me tell you what it's really like. She zoomed in on different regions as she spoke. Temperatures on Earth range from -60 to +50 degrees Celsius. Either extreme would kill an unprotected human in minutes, so we invented clothing, shelter, and fire. Our world has storms that produce winds strong enough to lift vehicles into the air. So we built stronger buildings and warning systems. Earthquakes split the ground beneath our cities. So we learned engineering that could withstand the shaking. Your world sounds horrific, Velnus whispered. It's home, G1 continued. Our oceans contain creatures that could swallow your entire ship. Our lands have predators with teeth as long as your arm. Invisible organisms fill our air and water that cause deadly diseases. So we developed medicine. We studied biology. We learned to fight back against nature itself. Minho added, We're not violent because we enjoy it. We're survivors because our world demanded it. Every human alive today is descended from ancestors who refused to give up, no matter how hard things got. Velnus's skin shifted to a pale blue. But your capacity for violence is matched by our capacity for compassion, Yeri said firmly. Yes, we had wars. Terrible wars. But we also had people who sacrificed everything to save strangers. We had doctors who worked themselves to exhaustion healing the sick. We had teachers who spent their lives educating children. We had artists who created beauty in the darkest times. We're not just warriors, counselor. We're also healers and builders and dreamers. Over the next hours, they showed Velnus more of human history. Not just the wars, but the moments between. A firefighter running into a burning building to save a child. A scientist staying awake for days to find a cure for a disease. A stranger donating a kidney to someone they'd never met. Acts of kindness so common on Earth that humans barely notice them, but which left Velnus stunned. Your species does these things naturally? She asked. We're pack animals, Daehyun explained. We form bonds quickly. We protect our groups fiercely. To us, that's normal. Is it different for you? Very different, Velnus admitted. Most council species are solitary by nature or form loose associations. The concept of dying to protect another, it's almost unknown among us. A proximity alarm interrupted them. Medical Ensign Yoonji Nam rushed onto the bridge. Captain, there's an emergency on the station. A structural failure in one of the civilian sections. Counselor Velnus, your people are calling for you. Velnus stood quickly and then gasped in pain. She had moved too fast and pulled something in her leg. She collapsed back into the chair, her skin flashing red. Yoonji immediately moved to help her. Don't move. Let me check that. No time, Velnus said through obvious pain. My people need me. You can't walk on that injury, Yoonji said, scanning it with her medical device. You've torn 3 muscle groups. For your biology, that could be fatal if not treated. Minho made a decision. Daehyun, suit up. Yoonji, prepare a medical team. We're offering assistance. Captain, we weren't authorized to leave the ship, Yeri reminded him. Then they can add it to their list of reasons to fear us, Minho said. I'm not sitting here while people die. The Perseverance launched an emergency shuttle. When it docked at the damaged section of Harmony Nexus, chaos greeted them. The station's delicate construction had collapsed under what seemed like minor stress. To the council species, it was a major disaster. To the humans, it looked like a building accident. Daehyun stepped into the rubble first. His heavy boots crunched on broken materials that looked like crystal. I'm reading life signs under that collapsed section, he said, pointing to a pile of debris. 2 station security officers, both aliens similar to Velnus, stood nearby looking helpless. We cannot lift it, one said. Our rescue equipment is too far away. Those trapped will run out of air in minutes. Daehyun walked to the debris pile and grabbed the largest piece. It was a support beam made of some lightweight metal. To the aliens, it was impossibly heavy. Daehyun lifted it over his head and tossed it aside like it was made of cardboard. The security officers stared in shock. Don't just watch. Daehyun called to the human team behind him. Help me dig them out. 5 humans moved into the rubble. They lifted pieces that would have required machinery for the aliens to move. Within minutes, they pulled 3 injured Tetherians from the collapse. Yoonji and her medical team immediately began treatment. Their injuries are severe for their biology, Yoonji reported, but I can stabilize them. Their physiology is remarkably delicate. More humans spread through the damaged section. They manually shut off broken power lines that were sparking dangerously. They sealed air leaks with their bare hands, ignoring the cold of space that leaked through. They carried injured aliens to safety with a gentleness that seemed impossible given their strength. Word spread quickly through the station. Camera feeds showed humans performing rescues that the council species couldn't manage. In one feed, a human held up a collapsing wall with her back while aliens evacuated beneath it. In another, a human crawled through a gap too small for rescue equipment to fit, pulling out trapped workers one by one. When the rescue was finished, 243 aliens had been saved. 0 had died. The humans stood in the docking bay, covered in dust and minor injuries that would have hospitalized any council species. They looked tired but satisfied. High Arbiter Queln, leader of the entire Galactic Council, arrived in person. The ancient being floated before Minho on some kind of hover platform. You disobeyed our orders to remain on your ship, Queln said. Yes, Minho replied simply. People needed help. You risked your lives for species you barely know, Yes. Queln studied the humans for a long moment. Why? Minho thought about the question. It seemed so obvious to him, but clearly it wasn't to the aliens. Because it was the right thing to do. Because we could help and you couldn't. Because standing by while people die isn't something humans do. We're built to survive, yes, but we're also built to protect. The High Arbiter's expression was unreadable. The Council will continue its deliberations. But what you did here today will be part of our considerations. As they returned to their ship, Velnus contacted them one final time. Her leg had been treated and she could walk again, though she still moved carefully. "Thank you," she said. "You saved many lives today, including mine." "We're happy to help," Minho said. "I will speak for you in the council chambers," Velnus promised. "I will tell them what I learned. Deathworlders you may be, but you're also something else. Something we've never encountered before." "What's that?" G1 asked. "Protectors," Velnus said softly. "You're protectors who survived hell itself and came out still caring about others." 6 months had passed since the battle. Harmony Nexus had been repaired and its scars were now badges of honor. Where the enemy had struck hardest, the new construction used human engineering principles. Stronger, more resilient, built to endure. The memorial stood in the station's central plaza, a wall of black stone from Earth, polished until it reflected light like water. On it were carved 3,000 names. Humans who had died defending a station that wasn't their home and people who weren't their species. At the top, in letters that caught the light, was written a simple phrase in every known galactic language. "They stood between us and the darkness." Lieutenant Somin Han stood before the memorial reading the names. She was young, barely 25, but she wore the uniform of the new Galactic Guard with pride. Behind her, a mixed group of recruits waited, humans and aliens training together for the first time. "Every name here represents a choice," Somin told her students. "A choice to protect instead of flee, to sacrifice instead of survive. That's what we honor, not their deaths, but their choices." A Tetherian recruit raised a delicate hand. His name was Kelris, and he was one of the first non-humans to volunteer for combat training. "Lieutenant Han, how do we make such choices?" "My species has no tradition of warfare. I don't know how to be brave like humans are." Somin turned to face him. "Bravery isn't about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and doing what's right anyway. You're here, aren't you? You're learning skills that terrify you because you want to protect others. That's already brave." The training facility was located on a new structure built adjacent to Harmony Nexus. It was designed by humans and council engineers working together, combining human durability with alien technology. The result was something greater than either species could have built alone. Inside, Admiral Minho Kim watched training exercises on multiple screens. He had been promoted after the battle and given command of the entire Galactic Guard initiative. It was a massive responsibility, but he approached it the same way he approached everything else, with determination and an understanding that failure wasn't an option. "The integration is going better than expected," Jiwan said, reviewing data on her tablet. She had taken a position as head of xenobiology research, studying how different species could work together in high-stress situations. "They're learning," Minho agreed, "but we need to learn too. We can't just teach them to fight like humans. They need to fight like themselves using their own strengths." On one screen, a mixed unit was running combat drills. The Tetherians weren't strong enough to carry human weapons, so human engineers had designed lighter versions. The aliens weren't fast enough to keep pace with human soldiers, so the tactics were adjusted to use defensive positions and long-range support. But the most interesting developments came when the different species started teaching each other. Humans learned patience from the Tetherians, who could hold perfectly still for hours while monitoring sensors. The Tetherians learned aggressive problem-solving from humans, who attacked obstacles head-on instead of waiting for solutions. Dai-hyun ran the close-quarters combat training. He stood in a practice ring with Kelris demonstrating basic defense moves. "Your species is lighter and faster than humans in low gravity," he explained. "Use that. Don't try to match our strength. Go for speed and precision." Kelris tried a strike moving faster than any human could. Daehyun blocked it easily with his greater mass, but he smiled. "Good. That would work on most opponents. Try it again, but aim for vulnerable spots. Joints, sensors, anything that's already weak." The Tetherian practiced, and slowly he began to understand. Fighting wasn't just about strength. It was about using what you had effectively. Across the station, Hieri worked in her new role as Chief Diplomatic Liaison. Her injuries from the battle had healed, leaving only small scars that she wore with quiet pride. She met with representatives from dozens of species, answering questions about humanity and Earth. "Is it true your world has weather that can destroy cities?" asked a floating alien from a water world. "Yes," Hieri confirmed. "We call them hurricanes or typhoons. They produce winds strong enough to tear buildings apart, and you simply live with this. We predict them, prepare for them, and help each other survive them. That's what communities do on Earth. We face danger together." The alien seemed to consider this. "Before humanity arrived, we thought strength meant never facing danger. You've taught us that real strength is facing danger and overcoming it." These conversations happened thousands of times each day. The council species were hungry to understand humans, to learn from the Deathworlders who had saved them. And humans were equally eager to learn from civilizations thousands of years older than their own. Dr. Yuna Song worked with council scientists on a project that excited everyone involved. They were combining human faster-than-light technology with council power generation systems. The result would be ships that could travel farther and faster than anything previously possible. "The key is in how humans approach problems," Yuna explained to her mixed team. "Earth gave us limited resources, so we learned to maximize efficiency. We squeeze every bit of performance from our systems. Combined with your advanced power technology, we can achieve things neither of us could do alone." It was a metaphor for the entire human-council relationship. Separately, they were impressive. Together, they were extraordinary. Commander Sunho Kang stood on the bridge of the new flagship, the Endurance. It was a joint construction project, the first true hybrid vessel. Human military design with council technology. It was faster than any human ship, tougher than any council vessel, and represented the future of galactic defense. "All systems are green," reported the mixed crew. Humans and aliens working side by side, each contributing their unique skills. "Take us out," Sunho ordered. Time for the Endurance's first patrol. The ship moved smoothly away from the station, heading toward the outer rim of council space. It was the first of many patrols, protecting the borders from any threats that might emerge. The Galactic Guard was becoming a reality. That evening, a ceremony was held at the memorial. It had become tradition to hold gatherings there, to remember and to celebrate. Minho stood with other survivors from the battle, watching as council citizens laid flowers and small offerings at the base of the memorial. Velnus approached him, moving with more confidence than she had 6 months ago. "Thank you for coming, Admiral." "I wouldn't miss it," Minho replied. "These people died protecting the council. We owe it to them to remember." "The council remembers," Velnus assured him. "Every child in council space now learns about the battle, about Tejano and his sacrifice, about the humans who stood and fought when we couldn't. It's changing us, making us braver." Minho saw evidence of this all around. Council species who had once been terrified of leaving their safe worlds now signed up for exploration missions. They learned self-defense. They faced challenges instead of avoiding them. Humanity's example was spreading like ripples in water. A group of children approached the memorial led by their teacher. Both human and alien children playing together without fear. They placed drawings and handmade crafts at the memorial's base. Their teacher, a Tetharian, explained the significance of the names on the wall. "These people came from a very dangerous world," the teacher said, "a world that made them strong. But they didn't use their strength to hurt others. They used it to protect. That's what real strength is. Not the ability to harm, but the choice to defend." One human child, no more than 7 years old, stood before the wall with serious eyes. "My uncle's name is here," she said quietly. "Mom says he was a hero." "He was," the teacher confirmed. They all were. As night cycle fell over the station, lights illuminated the memorial from below, making the names glow softly. People gathered there in quiet groups from every species in the council. They came to remember, to mourn, and to hope. Salman found Minho standing alone looking at the names. "Sir, the first class of Galactic Guard graduates tomorrow. It's the first mixed species military unit in galactic history. 40% human, 60% council species. How are they doing?" "Better than anyone expected. They're learning to trust each other, to depend on each other. It's beautiful to watch." Minho smiled. "That's what we hoped for. Not just soldiers, but a real partnership. Do you think there will be more threats like the one we faced? Probably, Minho said honestly. The galaxy is vast. There are dangers out there we haven't even imagined yet, but now we'll face them together. Not just humans, not just council species, all of us as one civilization. Yunji joined them carrying data pads full of research. I've been analyzing the improvements in council medical technology since we started sharing information. Their techniques are incredibly advanced, but they never had to deal with serious trauma because their worlds are so safe. Now they're learning from our emergency medicine and it's saving lives every day. And they're teaching us too, Jiwon added, appearing from another direction. Their genetic research is centuries ahead of ours. We're learning to cure diseases we thought were impossible to treat. That was the real victory, Minho realized. Not just surviving the battle, but everything that came after. The Indomitable's bridge fell silent when Sunho announced his decision. Ramming an enemy vessel was a tactic from ancient history, from the days when humans fought with wooden ships and bronze weapons. But sometimes old tactics worked best. Sir, we have escape pods, Yuna said carefully. The crew could evacuate. The enemy would just shoot down the pods, Sunho replied. And without the Indomitable, that last command ship will reorganize the fleet. Then everyone on Harmony Nexus dies. A young pilot named Taejin-Oh sat at the helm station. He was barely 23 years old, fresh from the academy. His hands trembled on the controls, but his voice was steady. Captain, I have a better idea. I'm listening. Our reactor can be overloaded to create a quantum disruption field. It's in the emergency protocols designed to prevent enemy capture. If we detonate it close enough to that command ship, the disruption will disable everything in a 50-kilometer radius. Including us, Sunho said. Yes, sir. But my station is closest to the reactor controls. I can manually trigger the overload and pilot us in. The rest of you take the escape pods. Once you're clear, I'll make the run. Absolutely not, Sunho said firmly. I'm the captain. This is my responsibility. Taejin smiled sadly. With respect, sir, you're a captain. Earth needs captains. I'm just a pilot, and I can do this. Before anyone could stop him, Taejin locked the bridge controls to his station only. His fingers flew across the panel, initiating lockouts throughout the ship. Red lights flashed as the evacuation alarm sounded. Taejin, stand down, Sunho ordered. Can't do that, sir. Evacuation protocols are active. You have 5 minutes to reach the escape pods. After that, the bridge will seal automatically. Sunho tried to override the controls, but Taejin had routed everything through his personal command codes. It would take 10 minutes to break his lockout. They didn't have 10 minutes. This is an order, Ensign. I know, sir. I'm sorry for disobeying, but someone has to fly this ship and everyone else needs to live. Earth needs heroes to come home and tell the story. I'm making sure you all can do that. Yuna grabbed Sunho's arm. Captain, we have to go. He's made his choice. The crew evacuated in organized chaos. Years of training took over as they moved to escape pods. Sunho was the last to leave the bridge, and he stopped at Taejin's station. Your family will know what you did here, Sunho said. All of Earth will know. Just make sure they know why, Taejin replied. Tell them I did it to protect people. That's what humans do, right? We protect. The bridge doors sealed. Taejin was alone with his ship and his mission. He opened a communication channel to all frequencies, broadcasting to the council station and anyone else listening. This is Ensign Taejin-Oh of the Earth vessel Indomitable. To everyone on Harmony Nexus, we're going to end this threat. To my family back home, I love you. Tell my little sister to keep studying hard. Tell my parents I'm proud to be their son. To anyone else who's listening, remember this. Humans might come from a death world, but we're not monsters. We're people who know what it means to sacrifice. We're people who stand between the innocent and the darkness, and we do it gladly. He pushed the engines to maximum power. The Indomitable surged forward, faster than most council ships could move, straight toward the enemy command vessel. Defensive fire tore into the ship's hull. Systems failed one by one, but the course held true. On Harmony Nexus, millions watched in silence. The broadcast played on every screen. Vilnius stood with the Tetherian child still in her arms, watching a young human fly to his death to save people he'd never met. Why is he doing this? The child asked. Because he's brave, Vilnius whispered. Because he comes from a world that makes you strong or kills you. And he chose to use his strength to protect instead of destroy. Taejin watched his console count down the distance. His hands were steady now. He thought about Earth, about the green forests and blue oceans, about the family he'd never see again. But he also thought about all the people on the station who would live because of what he did today. Not bad for a kid from a death world, he said to himself, smiling. The Indomitable struck the enemy command ship at full velocity. For one brief moment, the reactor's quantum disruption field expanded like a star being born. Every enemy vessel within 50 kilometers simply stopped functioning. Their lights went dark. Their weapons went silent. They drifted as dead metal in space. The explosion was visible from Harmony Nexus as a flash of blue-white light that briefly outshone the local star. Then it faded, and Taijin-O was gone. The remaining enemy ships, now disconnected from any command structure and infected with Yunji's virus, began shutting down one by one. The battle was over. Humanity had won, but the cost was written in the debris field where a ship and its brave pilot had been. The escape pods from the Indomitable were recovered quickly. Sun-Ho stood in the docking bay of Harmony Nexus, watching his crew disembark. They were battered, injured, but alive. All except one. Minho met him there. The Perseverance had survived, though it would need months of repairs. He saved us all, Minho said quietly. I should have stopped him, Sun-Ho replied. You couldn't have. He made his choice. That's what humans do. We make the hard choices. High Arbiter Quellen arrived with a full escort. The ancient being looked different now. There was something new in its expression. Recognition, perhaps, or respect. 3,000 humans died today, Quellen said. Defending a station full of species you had just met. Sacrificing yourselves for people who feared you. It's what needed to be done, Minho said simply. The Council owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. While we debated whether to accept you, you were already protecting us. While we feared your capacity for violence, you used it to defend the defenseless. Velnus approached, still carrying the Tetherian child. This child's parent died when the first attack hit their residential section. Before I could reach them, Ambassador Hayeri pulled them from the rubble. She was injured doing it. 3 broken ribs and a punctured lung, but she wouldn't let the child go until I arrived. Sun-Ho looked around. Where is Hayeri? In your medical bay, Velnus said. Your Dr. Yunji said the injuries would have killed any council species instantly. But she's already healing. She should be able to walk in a few days. That was humanity. Breaking ribs to save a child and being back on their feet in days. The council species found it terrifying and awe-inspiring in equal measure. More reports came in throughout the day. Human crew members had worked through the battle to rescue trapped aliens. They had shared their limited medical supplies. They had used their bodies as shields to protect council civilians from falling debris. They had done 100 small acts of courage that they considered normal, but which left the council stunned. In one shelter, a human engineer had stayed behind to manually hold closed a door that had lost power. He held it for 4 hours until the emergency teams arrived, preventing explosive decompression that would have killed everyone inside. His hands were crushed and his shoulders dislocated. He just laughed when they told him he was a hero and asked if anyone had some painkillers. These stories spread through the station. The council species had to confront a truth they had never considered. The Deathworlders, the species they had feared, were also the most dedicated protectors they had ever encountered. That evening, Quellen called for an emergency session of the full council. Every species sent representatives. For the first time in galactic history, the vote was unanimous. Sun-Ho and Minho stood before the assembly, exhausted and still covered in the grime of battle. Quellen spoke with a formality that made the moment feel historic. The Galactic Council recognizes humanity as a full member species. Furthermore, we offer Earth a permanent seat on the High Command, with all associated rights and responsibilities. We ask that humanity consider forming a protective force to guard Council space from external threats. We know now that while we built a civilization of peace, we forgot that peace must sometimes be defended. You remembered. You never forgot. And you shared that knowledge with your blood today. Minho looked at Sun-Ho, then back at the council. We accept. But we ask one thing in return. Name it. We want to build a memorial here on Harmony Nexus. For Ensign Taijin-O and all the others who died defending your station, so that no one forgets what they gave. It will be built, Quellen promised, and it will stand as long as this station exists. The meeting ended, but the day's events would echo through galactic history. Humanity had arrived among the stars as feared outsiders. They had left that day as protectors, as defenders, as the guardians the galaxy didn't know it needed. The council meeting had been going for 6 hours when the alarm started. Minho was presenting humanity's case for membership when every screen in the chamber went red. A warning sound filled the air, high-pitched and urgent. High Arbiter Queln's hover platform spun toward the main display. "What is happening?" A technician's voice came through the speakers, trembling with panic. Unknown vessels emerging from dark space. Massive energy signatures. They're not responding to any communication protocols. The display showed space itself tearing open. Through the rifts came ships unlike anything in the Council's databases. They were black, angular, and covered in strange geometric patterns that hurt to look at. There were hundreds of them, and more kept coming. "Defensive protocols," Quellen ordered. "Activate the station shields. Send diplomatic signals on all frequencies." Minho felt ice in his stomach. He knew what these ships meant even before the attack began. "Those aren't explorers. Those are warships. How can you tell?" Velnus asked. "The design? The windows. Heavy armor plating. Weapon ports covering every surface. We've built enough warships on Earth to recognize them." The first attack came without warning. Beams of purple energy lanced out from the unknown fleet and struck 3 Council patrol ships. The ships didn't just explode. They vanished, converted to dust in an instant. Chaos erupted in the Council chamber. Aliens of every species began shouting, calling for their homeworlds, demanding explanations. They had no experience with war. The concept of sudden, overwhelming violence was foreign to them. Minho's military training took over. "Captain Sunho Kang, do you copy?" he said into his communicator. A voice crackled back immediately. "I read you, Captain Kim. The Indomitable just dropped out of FTL. We see the hostile fleet. What's the situation?" "Unknown attackers. They're not responding to communication. Council forces are falling back. We need to engage." "We're not authorized to fight," Sunho replied. "We're supposed to be here just as backup for diplomatic missions." Minho looked at the screen. More Council ships were dying. The station's shields were failing under sustained bombardment. Millions of civilians were trapped on Harmony Nexus with nowhere to run. "The Council can throw us out of the galaxy after this," Minho said. "But I'm not watching these people die. Indomitable, you are weapons-free. Perseverance will join you." "Understood. Let's show these things what a death world produces." The 2 human ships broke from their holding positions. Compared to the massive Council vessels, they were tiny. Compared to the alien attack fleet, they were insignificant. But they moved with a speed and aggression that shocked everyone watching. The Perseverance wasn't designed as a warship, but it had defensive weapons. Minho pushed the engines to their limits, bringing the ship into combat range faster than the attackers expected. Railguns fired solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. Missiles with guidance systems that could track tiny asteroids locked onto enemy vessels. The Indomitable was a proper military vessel, part of Earth's small defense fleet. It carried weapons that had been designed to fight other humans, which meant they were designed to destroy targets that could shoot back, could adapt, and could survive enormous damage. Sunho brought his ship straight at the enemy fleet's center. It was a maneuver that made no tactical sense to the Council forces, who fought by maintaining maximum distance. But humans understood close combat. The Indomitable dove through enemy formations, its armor absorbing hits that would have destroyed any Council ship. It fired in all directions at once, targeting multiple enemies simultaneously. "These things are machines," Dr. Unisong reported from the Indomitable's science station. "Some kind of artificial intelligence. They're adapting to our attacks already." "Then we adapt faster," Sunho said. He rolled the ship inverted and fired thrusters at full power. A maneuver that produced enough G-force to crush most alien species. The human crew, protected by acceleration chairs and their own dense biology, barely noticed. Daehyun watched the battle from the Perseverance's security station. "They're targeting the station's shield generators. If those fail, everyone inside dies. Redirect all power to weapons," Minho ordered. "We're going to stop them." "Sir, if we lose engines, we'll be a sitting target. Then we'd better make our shots count." The Perseverance positioned itself between the enemy fleet and the station. It became a shield made of metal and human stubbornness. Energy beams scored its hull. Missiles struck its armor, but it held position and kept firing back. Inside the station, panic was spreading. The Council species had no military training, no experience with violence. They didn't know how to process what was happening. But they could see the 2 small human ships standing between them and annihilation. Velnus found herself in a shelter with hundreds of other civilians. They watched the battle on emergency screens. A Tetherian child clung to its parent, crying. Velnus picked up the child without thinking, trying to comfort it even though she barely knew how. On the screen, the Perseverance took a direct hit to its starboard side. The ship spun wildly, venting atmosphere. But it stabilized and kept fighting. "Why don't they run?" someone asked. "They could escape." "Because they're human," Velnus said softly. "They don't abandon people who need protection." Yunji was working in the Perseverance's medical bay, treating crew members injured by the constant impacts. One engineer had a broken arm from being thrown against a bulkhead. Another had burns from a plasma conduit explosion. Injuries that would have killed most aliens were treated quickly, so the crew could return to their stations. "You need to rest," Yunji told one young ensign who had a concussion. "Can't rest yet," the ensign said, pulling himself up. "The doc's still fighting. We all fight until it's done." That was the human way. You fought until you won or until you couldn't fight anymore. Surrender wasn't a concept that came naturally to a species forged by a death world. The enemy fleet had clearly expected easy prey. The Council forces retreated according to their defensive doctrines, minimizing losses while waiting for reinforcements. It was logical and sensible, but the humans didn't retreat. They pushed forward, targeting enemy command ships, disrupting formations, forcing the attackers to respond to them instead of freely bombarding the station. Yuna discovered something crucial during the battle. "Captain Kang, I've isolated their communication network. It's quantum-entangled signals. They're all connected to central nodes in the larger ships. If we destroy those nodes, the smaller ships lose coordination." "Identified," Sunho said, marking 3 massive vessels at the fleet's center. "Those are protected by hundreds of smaller ships. Getting through will cost us. Do we have a choice? Not if we want to save everyone on that station." The Indomitable charged the enemy center. It took fire from all sides. Hull breaches appeared across multiple sections. But human damage control teams sealed them with tools and determination. The ship pushed through, its nose aimed at the first command vessel. At the last second, Sunho fired everything. Missiles, railguns, plasma torpedoes, even the ship's defensive lasers. The enemy command ship tried to evade, but it was designed to coordinate attacks, not dodge them. The weapons struck like a hammer. The ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion. Immediately, dozens of smaller enemy ships went dark. Without their command node, they drifted uselessly. 2 more to go, Sunho said. "Minho, can you get the second one?" The Perseverance was badly damaged. Half its weapons were offline. Fires burned in 3 compartments. But Minho looked at his crew and saw only determination. "We can get it," he said. Daehyun had a wild idea. "Captain, we still have our docking clamps. What if we grabbed onto that command ship?" "And then what?" "Then Yunji's been working on something interesting." Yunji had indeed been working on something. Earth's microorganisms were deadly to most alien biology. She had been studying the enemy machines and found they used organic processing elements. If she could introduce Earth bacteria into their systems, "It's a virus," she explained quickly, "made from modified E. coli. It'll spread through their organic components and shut them down. But I need direct access to their systems." "So we need to board them," Minho said. "That's insane," someone protested. "Probably," Minho agreed. "But we're doing it anyway. Daehyun, get your boarding team ready." The Perseverance latched onto an enemy command ship like a remora on a shark. Plasma cutters burned through the hull. Daehyun led 6 humans into the breach, wearing armor and carrying weapons designed for close combat. Inside the enemy ship, they found corridors filled with mechanical horrors. The machines attacked immediately, but humans had been fighting in close quarters for thousands of years. The boarding team moved with practiced efficiency, covering each other, using the environment, adapting to every new threat. Yunji followed them in, protected by their formation. When they reached what looked like a central processing core, she deployed her virus. The modified bacteria spread through the ship's organic systems like wildfire. The command ship died, and with it another section of the enemy fleet went dark. 1 command ship remained, but now the enemy knew humanity's tactic. They pulled it back, surrounding it with layers of protection. Sunho made a decision he knew would haunt him forever. "We're going to ram it,"